All right, so we're back. Let's go ahead and cut in. We need to cut in these bigger holes to allow the head of the screw to go down into the bottom of it. All right, because we're using screws that look like this. So the hole we have already is big enough for this threaded part to fit through without touching, and then the head will sit on it, but we need the head to be able to get down that hole as well. So to do that, I'm going to rotate back around to the back side. So I'm going to click on this corner over here. And I want to create a plane. So I want to actually have a sketch that starts 1/2 centimeter into this, and that's where that bigger circle is going to start. So I'm going to grab a construction plane, click here for an offset plane, I should say, and then I want it to be inside of it like that, but not a full centimeter. I only need a -0.5, and I'm going to click enter. That just created a construction plane. Now I've got something to create my sketch plane on. I've got to be able to sketch on something. So I'm going to sketch on this construction plane right here. The only problem with this is that the thing I'm drawing is inside the solid, the body. So I'm going to actually come here, open up my bodies folder, and I'm going to hide the body real quick. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to project the shape of the body onto my drawing. So I'm going to go P for project, click on this bottom. It'll show me where all these things are. Show me where the 3 circles are and the outside of the box is, so I can keep track of where everything is. Now I'm going to hide the body, and I have something to work with now. So on this sketch, I'm going to create a circle that's just a little bit bigger than the one that's there. So I'm going to click right in that center, and I'm going to say this needs to be 0.9. That'll be enough to let our head fit in there well. And I'm going to do that same thing on the other ones. 0.9 and 0.9. Okay, now I'm actually ready to extrude. I'm going to hit E key for extrude. I'm going to select the 3 things I want to extrude. I could also extrude the inside hole, but because it's already been extruded, it doesn't need to. Turn my body back on because without a body, there's nothing to extrude. And I'm going to pull it out the edge again. And now I'm going to say, hey, I want to go distance all the way through, and that's it. And you can see now I click OK. And now I've cut it. These aren't bigger. The bigger hole doesn't start. Let me zoom in and see if we can see it. Yeah, there it is. You can see inside here where the bigger hole starts right on that edge in there. And from the other side, we've just made it bigger. And now there's a little platform that the head of the screw can screw down in on and push on and hold the handle there. And that looks great. Like, look how close they got. They got close to that curve, but not into it. That's kind of what we were looking for. That's one of the reasons that we drafted the back angle, so that now we can have a place to have the screw go down. Otherwise, you have to go through this whole top, and it wouldn't look very nice. All right, so that's it. That is our door handle. What we're going to do now is create another one above because we want to have it look nice. And then we'll model in the actual metal bar between the two. And then from there, we'll take one over to our slicer program, and we'll learn how to slice it up and get ready for the 3D printer. Okay, so this is, oh no, before we do that, actually, we're not quite done yet. I want to, these edges being sharp are not going to look very nice. I'm going to chamfer them, which means cut them at 45. I'm not going to round them over. Roundovers do not print on the 3D printers as well as chamfers do. So I use a chamfer, which is the 45-degree angle. I want to chamfer this edge and chamfer this edge, but I don't want to chamfer any of these others. This edge is going to sit flat against the wood. I don't want there to be like a chamfer, and I want it to fit nice and flat and look sharp. So those are the ones I'm going to do. I'm just going to try some stuff. Let me try 0.2. That looks pretty good. What does 0.3 look like? Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like 0.3. Let's use 0.3. That looks sharp. Okay. And just by doing that, it just makes it look a lot nicer when you print it. Next thing we're going to do is create a copy of this. So the nice thing about Fusion 360 is you can create what's called a mirror. But we need to be able to create a mirror on something. In this case, we need a plane to create it on. And so we're going to click here to create an offset plane. So I came up here for a construction offset plane. I'm going to click here and drag this up 8 centimeters away. Okay. And then I'm going to click OK. And this is what I'm going to use as a mirror. So it's going to look like when you look in the mirror, it looks like your image is like as far away you are in the mirror from behind the mirror. So it's like the mirror looks like the halfway point. Same thing with this. So create mirror pattern. When it says faces, if you leave it on faces and you click here, and then you say your mirror plane is next, I want to mirror this. It just mirrors just the face, not the whole thing. So I'd come over here and say, no, I don't want faces, I want the whole body. Now I'm going to select which body I want to mirror, and you can see right away it mirrors it. Now it shows you this kind of see-through version, so you can kind of see what you're mirroring. You can see like, here's the hole for the handle, and then the holes here for the heads, and then the little holes for the screws. It's kind of cool to see it that way. And I'm just going to click OK. It'll build the solid in there for us. All right, at this point, I'm going to hit A. I'm going to grab that red plastic that I liked, and I'm just going to drop it on that one and that one. All right, close. Now, last thing I want to do, that my construction plane is still visible, so I'm going to come over here to my construction plane folder and turn off plane 2 so I can't see it. I can always turn on later if I need it. Now what I want to do is I want to create a metal pipe that goes from this bottom up to the top. To do that, I'm going to create a sketch on this bottom circle in here. Make sure you get that bottom circle. Once I do that, I'm going to hide body 1, body 2. I'm going to extrude that circle that I just created. And I'm going to extrude it. I'm going to turn body 2 back on. I'm going to rotate so I can see the bottom or the top of this hole. And I'm going to say over here, distance is to an object. I want to go to that object. Fantastic. Now right now it's set to join, but I don't want to join. I actually want to create a new body. I want to create something separate, which is that handle. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to turn back on body 1, and this is what our door handle is going to look like. Pretty darn sharp. I'm digging that. Last thing I want to do is, I think that's it. Yeah, let me name these real quick. So this one is lower. This one is upper. And the other one is the bar. Whoops. All right. So now I need to take this over in a file format that allows me to use the slicer on it. And that file format, if I come over here, I want to grab the lower one or the upper one, doesn't really matter. Right click on it. And then save as mesh. That's what we're looking for. A mesh is what we'll go to our next thing with. And you can see what it shows you. Like if you don't see this blue craziness, click the preview mesh button on. And it's going to show you what mesh it's going to send out. It's going to create all these like crazy little triangles for all the shapes that you created. And the format we're going to use is STL binary. The unit type, make sure you click it to centimeter, or millimeters I should say. That's what's going to be read in our next program. If you don't do that, it's going to come in way too small. It's going to assume all these numbers are millimeters. And number of triangles, and then this refinement, you can change it to high and see what it does. It just draws more triangles. So now it draws 4,530 triangles to mimic all these sides. But we don't need that. It doesn't get much better. And low, so that went to 2,000. If I go to low, it's going to go to 1,000. And even this would print really well, but we're going to keep it on medium, no reason for high. If we're doing something with lots of little tiny details to it, high refinement might make sense, but this has a bunch of smooth curves and square edges, so we're totally fine. And then you can play around with this stuff. This is things like it changes the number of triangles and how that builds the triangles for you. Feel free to mess around with it. I don't. It's not worth it. And then I'm just going to come down here and click OK. When you do that, it's going to ask you to name the file it's going to create. It's going to create this STL file. So a .stl file is what we use to 3D print with. So I'm going to call this door tool cabinet door handle bracket. Bam, right there. I already have one. It's going to save over it. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I want to replace it. Fantastic. Now, you got to remember where you save that. And I'm not sure how the saving is going to work with the new computer, so ask me and I will help you figure out the saving if you can't. So once I have that saved, I'm going to go ahead and close out Fusion. We're done with it for now. We have our file. Definitely going to click Save on this one and click OK. It'll do that thing. While it's doing that thing, I'm going to come down and search on my computer for Prusa, P-R-U-S-A. And I'm looking for Prusa Slicer. And I'm going to open that program up. Now I'm going to do File, Open. No, I'm going to do Import. Sorry, File, Import, and Import STL. Navigate to wherever you stored that file at. So we've got to always be careful when we're storing our stuff so we can find it later, right? Because every time we make something, we need it later. I'm going to double click on that or click Open. It's going to insert it right here. This is the one that I have. If I hold down the left click button, I can rotate the plate all around. This is the printing bed for our printer. So it looks just like this. If you go look at the printers, it'll look just like this. This is the printing bed for it. The fact that it's green means that it fits. If you don't have it on here properly, like right now, some of it's overhanging, the printer can't print it here, so it will give you this error and it will turn it blue, and this dark blue part's the part that's cut off. So I need to get it on here where it's green, and then that's great. I can also do this button at the top, which is Arrange, which will auto-arrange it in a nice position. The next thing I need to do is check this out. Like, it's not sitting on the platform. I want it to sit on there. And in fact, I want it to tip down and kind of print angled layers. It'll make it stronger to have the layers on an angle through our model. So what I'm going to do here is tip it so I can see the bottom. And then I'm going to come over here to this button, which is Place on Face, which means whatever I click on next, it's going to rotate it and put it on that face. Like, for example, if I click on this side, it's going to put that side down. If I click on this side, it's going to be that side down. But I want it to be this slanted side down because I want it to look like this when it's sitting there. It should be slanting back like that. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so now I've got it placed on there. I'm going to click on here again and auto-arrange it because it's all in a weird angle now. That's good, I guess. And then I need two of these. I need one for the top, one for the bottom, identical. So if I click on it, I can use this copy command and the paste command, and then I can click on the auto-arrange button, and now they've arranged them on the platform for us. All right, and they got all wonky like this, like diagonal like this, because I clicked them all around. It doesn't matter what angle they're at, the print will print just the same. So if yours are straight next to each other or the other way, totally fine, don't worry about it. Next thing we need to do is actually slice this. So before we do that, we need to choose some information. First of all, how thick are each slice? The thinner the slice is, or the thinner the layer is, the more detail there is, but it takes longer to print. So here we have 0.05 ultra detail. That's really good, but it's going to take forever to print. We're going to use the 0.1 millimeter detail. Next is the type of filament used, so the type of plastic we're using. We're using PETG in our printers, so we're going to do generic PETG from here. PETG is a type of plastic. It's a great plastic for printing stuff. And this one, we want original Prusa i3 maker, MK3S and MK3S Plus. That's the printers that we're using, so make sure that is selected. If not, it should be in the list down there. Yep. The other ones are different nozzle size. We have the standard nozzles all installed, so just use that one without a nozzle size next to it. We're going to do no supports, and our infill is going to be 15%. That's totally fine. We can leave that there. And all this is fine as well. Click on Slice now. And it'll take it a minute or two to build up all the slices. But what it's doing now is figuring out how many layers it has to build and the shape and path of each layer. And it'll take a little while. Like this one right now looks like it's going to be 965 layers. So almost 1,000 layers in there, which is kind of insane to think there are that many. But each layer is really, really thin. All right, that was the point of using that 0.1 millimeter detail. We're getting close. This can sometimes take a few minutes for it to figure out. On here, there's this bar that you can grab onto and drag it down. And what we're doing now is we're undoing the layer. So this is layer 539. And you can just see us going straight down through it. Boom, 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 boom. This number of like 61.3 is the number of millimeters up from the bottom. So right now we're at 61 millimeters up, almost just right over 6 centimeters. And we can keep going up and see every layer that's done. Notice the infill isn't solid. It's this what's called weird gyro pattern. As you go up and down, the gyroids rotate from right to left to right to left. That creates a really rigid internal structure. So you can use very little plastic, but still have a really strong part. And that's why we chose gyro. But you can see like the holes for everything go through. It's pretty cool to watch it build like this. All right. Now from here, all we have to do is send the G code out. One thing I want to warn you about is check this out. You got to check your stuff for this because you'll wreck the printers. If you accidentally click on this plus sign right here, what this does, is it creates a layer change or a color change. So notice how the plastic goes from orange to red. What that indicates is right here, the printer is going to stop at this level and wait for you. It'll beep and it'll wait for you to come over and switch out the color. So you can go here from like red on the bottom and then green on the top half, kind of a thing. The problem with doing this is that you're not going to be in class when it happens, and it's going to sit there all night heating the plastic in the extruder, and that's going to destroy the plastic in the extruder and clog the extruder. So make sure that your whole bar here is one orange color, no other color in it. If you accidentally click on that plus thing, just go here, go back in here where the transition happens at. The plus will turn into a little X. You can use the arrows to get right on it. The plus will turn into an X, and when you hit the X, it'll take away that color change, and now you're back to totally fine. So now the printer won't pause, nothing will get jammed or stuck into it. All right, so we've sliced it. Oh, no, we've changed something. So I changed the color in there, so now I got to reslice it. I apologize. Once we're done slicing, this slicing button down here in the lower right will turn into a G-code button. And G-code's the actual instructions of the printer of which directions to go and how much to move up. All the things are in that file. That's the file that we're going to put on a thumb drive or on an SD card, and we're going to take it over to the printer and we're going to print with it. So we'll figure out all this stuff together. But once you get the slicing done,
my apologies. I couldn't hear.
Siri was talking to me. Once you get the slicing done, and you have the G code, so export G code now. You're going to save it in that same place as the other one and save it as the name that was brought over. So it's got all this good stuff in there. It gives you the layer height right here, 0.1 millimeter. It says PETG is a type of plastic, and it's being printed on an MK3S, and it's going to take 1 day, 13 hours, and 32 minutes to print. So this is 3D printing. Like big stuff takes a long time to print. So I'm going to click Save. And it's going to save this huge file that has all 964 layers of instructions on it. And yeah, finished exporting, all done. This is the file that you're going to save onto a SD card and take it over to the printer and print it. Let me know, I'll help you with it. Thanks a lot.